Thank you to our sponsors for today's video, Eaton, Ionna, and InfyPower. Eaton is a one-stop shop for implementing reliable and innovative EV charging infrastructure at your site. Across all applications, Eaton's EV charging infrastructure, hardware and software, gives you the scalability, flexibility, and intelligence you need to charge today and scale up tomorrow. Learn more at eaton.com/EVCI. Also, Ionna, North America's premier charging network. With unmatched commitment to elevating the customer experience, Ionna is opening America's roads to all EVs, giving drivers the coverage they need, the reliability they deserve, and the amenities they crave. And InfyPower, the largest EV charger module provider with over 3 million power modules running reliably worldwide. Their latest G2 collection features ultra-high power density and efficiency for EV charging and energy storage integration. InfyPower, innovation for your power. Hello and welcome to a rainy day here in Munich. Behind me is the new Mercedes electric GLC. I have been so excited to bring this car to you because just a couple days ago, we recently filmed, we're in the middle of an auto show, we gotta roll with it, folks. We just filmed the BMW iX3, which is the first vehicle on BMW's Neue Klasse. And the iX3 is a direct competitor to the new GLC. The entire IAA auto show seems to be iX3 versus electric GLC. And at least on paper, it looks like BMW has absolutely crushed the new GLC in terms of range and charging and electrical architecture and more. However, in this video, I'm going to take you on a tour of the new electric GLC. We're going to look in the front trunk, the rear trunk, the interior, the software. I'm going to show you a cutaway of the platform as well to look at the permanent magnet electric motors, talk about the clutch disconnect, talk about the charging performance, and you can then see how it stacks up against the iX3 or other electric cars you may be interested in. This really feels like it's going to be the big volume seller for Mercedes in terms of electric cars. So it's a super important one that we film this and bring this to you. Next time, Mercedes, maybe you could invite us to film it in a studio ahead of time instead of us getting rain poured on us in the middle of the auto show. All good. We're still going to get the video to you, even though it's a few days late. Well, guys, you're going to have to deal with us on this one. It is rainy, it is crowded, and we are going to have fun because this is what auto shows are all about. So, new electric GLC. So excited for this one. The combustion GLC outsells pretty much any Mercedes worldwide. So you put in an electric drivetrain, it should be their best-selling electric vehicle. It's not just any electric drivetrain, though. This is really Mercedes' next generation passenger car stuff, or maybe I should say like normal car stuff. Because in the background of the excitement around the GLC electric, the Mercedes AMG team is working on the most insane stuff. We're talking 10C charging, over a megawatt charging. We're talking huge power and chassis and performance. So like the AMG Mercedes sound like are going to be charging monsters, range monsters, and they just broke about every long distance electric car record you could think of. And I have a whole video coming with my friend Eva, who's responsible for the charging team here at Mercedes, and from the technology perspective, and that will come in a few days. So really stay tuned for the AMG EQXX deep dive program with my friend Eva. That'll be really fun. So the specs on this are amazing, but keep in mind what AMG is working on makes this look so lame. What is the GLC electric? So let's run around it really quick so you can see. There's people in there, so you'll be able to peek in and get a sense of some of the size and space as well as they close the door. All good. Come around this side. You can see the back of it really clearly here. And design-wise, well, everyone has eyes and everyone has an opinion, so I, of course, will leave that all to you. Except my opinion is, okay, it looks a little sad. That's the only thing I can say. These little droopy things, it's part of the new design language with Mercedes. I think it looks okay. It's fine. It's just not particularly exciting. It still carries a little bit of the bubble from EQS SUV, EQE, but I think it looks better than those, especially the front end. We'll talk about the light up grille in a little bit, but I'm not 100% sure it's as bad as everyone's saying. I think it looks better in person. All right, let me show you inside the trunk, because first thing I'm noticing, and first thing I should mention, is this vehicle is on air suspension, which is not on the iX3, which means you can hit a button right in here And you can actually, well, it may not do it with people in there, don't know, might be disabled, but you can dump the rear suspension out. So you can lower this loading height. Now this is, I would say, an acceptable loading height to get into the back of the GLC for your luggage, although it is quite high. For example, as I'm standing, this vehicle is not lowered, lucid gravity's down here, and we saw something else yesterday. Oh, the Kia PV5 van, that was like next to my shin, crazy. Still, for a GLC-sized vehicle, as expected, trunk space, nothing crazy, but totally more than usable, and you have a nice underfloor storage to store charging cables or bags. There's also a front trunk as well, which I will show you. You can turn this floor into a complete flat load floor, which I really love. So you can choose to have it, you know, in this raised position or in this lower position, and I think that's a really nice option to have. Of course, you have this, you know, privacy shade that can come in as well. So all in all, I think in terms of luggage compartment, no major innovations going on here. Doesn't need to, but still really good. We should mention the tow hitch, which I don't think this one's equipped with. You can tow 2.4 tons with this one. It's like enough for a large boat. I don't know what it translates to in pounds. Maybe around 5,000 pounds? Yeah, something like that. But still, really great towing. We just talked to our friend Hannes, who's one of the engineers here. Shout out Hannes. He said the towing is awesome. So you can really tow some big stuff with this, way more than the iX3, they claim. All right, coming around, nice roof rails. I don't know if these are standard. Every market will spec these differently, depending on the, you know, I guess how the product planners in that market do it. Oh, we were dumped out on the air suspension, Scott.
Oh, so it's not that low.
So it's not that low of a loading height then. Okay. Interesting things to nerd out for a second in terms of the battery pack. This is a 94 kilowatt hour usable NMC battery pack. So that sounds pretty big for a car of this size. I mean, when you think Model Y, which has an 81 to 84 kilowatt hour pack, depending on the battery, it's a bit bigger than a Model Y, but not by that much. And it's got a pretty juicy battery in it. Until you hear about what BMW put in the iX3, which is 108.7 kilowatt hour usable battery pack, a whole nother 10 kilowatt hours more than this particular one. Actually more, it's like 14 kilowatt hours more. So, like I said, the Germans are really going after each other. These guys may have it on efficiency. Mercedes motors have always been insanely efficient. Their drivetrains, even the shape of the cars, the design lends themselves to being very efficient. And in all of our testing, Mercedes have always been more efficient than BMWs. I think that's true. We can always say that. So maybe the smaller battery is made up for by its efficiency, which should be around 350 miles in the EPA cycle, which is a lot of range. Now, range only matters on the initial charge from 100% to 0. What really matters, to us at least, is charging performance. So come on over here, because this is where it gets a little complicated. That battery pack that I mentioned that's in the car is an 800 volt system architecture. We're not sure of the exact nominal voltage of the battery pack. We'll plug it in, we'll play around with it when we do our charging curves, but at least it should have an 11 kilowatt AC charger, I believe, as standard, 22 optional in Europe. In the US, it will probably have a 48 amp onboard charger, but I say that with an asterisk because Mercedes in the US on single phase up to this point have only had a 40 amp onboard charger. So you buy a $187,000 electric G-Class, you get a 9.6 kilowatt 40 amp onboard charger, which is a bit weak sauce, especially when we're talking batteries that are almost 100 kilowatt hours. Unsure, it might be in the spec list somewhere. We'll play around with it when we can look at a US spec version. From a DC charging perspective, this is where things get exciting because it can support 330 kilowatt peak charging performance. Now that sounds really good until you hear about what BMW did with the iX3, which can do 400 plus kilowatt charging. And you go, oh boy, this would have been amazing if it launched on its own in a bubble. If no one else, if iX3 didn't exist, we'd be like, the GLC is the new road tripper. And then BMW just had to smash it with their 400 kilowatt charging. So that's the theme of the show. However, I still think 330 kilowatt charging should be great. The vehicle supports manual and automatic preconditioning tied in with one of the best route planners we've ever used. Should be very similar to the existing Mercedes products. We've done route planner race to Vegases, and Mercedes always nail it on the route planner. There's a few bugs in there, a few little things when you get to super low state of charge that the cars don't love, but in general, out of anyone, I would feel comfortable letting anyone get in a Mercedes, hit where they want to go, and just follow the route plan. Now, I mentioned this is an 800 volt system architecture, so your high voltage charging, how is that going to work with the Tesla supercharger network, which at this time, there's still no public V4 high voltage chargers installed anywhere in the world. And in certain markets, this vehicle will be offered, and some maybe even as standard, I think the US as standard, with a 400 volt booster. And from what I heard is it's only 100 kilowatt boosting. So if you go to a Tesla supercharger with this vehicle, this is preliminary, we'll have to test it of course later on, you may only get 100 kilowatt charging, which is not enough. There's certain versions of the CLA, which is also built on the MMA architecture, like this vehicle, that don't even have a booster at all. Like early production CLAs cannot charge on superchargers, but then other Mercedes can. And I can't figure out why they didn't do a split pack like others, or going with a booster situation using the rear rotor and stator like Lucid and Hyundai does. It's difficult to implement, but it's doable, and Mercedes is an engineering company, and you'd think you'd want to offer your customers the best charging experience, which is typically the supercharger network for convenience, in the US at least, and well, I don't know. But regardless, everything from the new GLC should be able to charge on the supercharger network, at least at a reduced performance. You're still going to want to seek out high voltage chargers from Ionna, who sponsored this video, or others. That was a good tie-in. They should pay extra for that. Anyway, we don't know also if it's going to have NACS or CCS. It most likely will have NACS. Yeah, with almost no question, but sometimes the Germans are slow with stuff, so you never really know. Come around the side, Scott, so we can get a really good side profile of this thing right now. It actually looks pretty damn good in my impression. I think the color is, okay. The running boards is very typical Mercedes. Scott, how many Mercedes stars do they have on their level 2 EBSE?
Oh God.
More than the front grille of a Maybach EQS or less? That is crazy. And excuse the rainy camera to the viewers there, but a couple of things to discuss would be driver assistance. There's 10 cameras around the car. I want to say 3 or 5 radars and 12 ultrasonic sensors. They say this will give you a first-class driver assistance experience. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be as good as Tesla FSD in terms of functionality, but at least here in Europe, Tesla FSD doesn't exist, so then this could be really good. I still think BMW takes the cake, at least for systems I've driven in Europe, for having the best driver assistance here in this market, but again, they're very sort of choked in terms of the capability and what they're able to do. This should do automatic lane changes, lane centering everywhere. I believe it might even stop at red lights. Like, it should be great, but it's no FSD, hit your destination, go where you want it to go. And I think that's something I'd really love to see the German automakers just push a bit harder on. I know a lot of our audience just wants lane centering wherever they go. I'm kind of one of those people until I'm in a car with FSD and I'm like, oh, it's so nice just to be chauffeured around. Let's talk about this. This has been the big controversial design decision with the GLC. Now, you guys know I'm not a design guy, but all of these pixels are recessed. They come out. So it's not like a flat design. It does have a 3D look, and they light up or they go away. I'm sure this will be optional. Everything with Mercedes is optional, especially in Germany. In the US, product planners tend to package things together. I think it would look good without it, and maybe maybe just black. They're trying to make it look a little bit less like an electric car, I guess, and more like the combustion variant. Scott, you should share your opinion.
I actually like it, and I think it is the least offensive of the grills here.
So I actually, so Scott likes it.
I do. I think it looks
like a combustion car, yeah. So I actually think the whole design of the GLC, like if you look at it down the side here, it looks awesome. Like I really think it's got this nice little fender situation. The headlights look okay, even with the Mercedes star in there, which is a little tacky. They've been doing this like with E-Class and other stuff. Yeah, whatever. I'm not loving this. In photos, this Mercedes badge looks way too big. In person, it's actually kind of nice, and it's angled nicely. I think it's okay.
It was very offensive.
I saw pictures of this. I'm like, have they lost their minds? Are their designers blind? What are they doing? Like, it looks like one of those calculators that old people use, or like those everything's huge. It's just like everything's way too big. In person, it actually works pretty well, I think. Let's pop the front trunk so we can show everyone what is under there. We haven't mentioned the power and performance. This sign just reminded me. 4.3 seconds 0 to 100 kph. So 4.2 seconds 0 to 60 probably. And what is the horsepower? 489 PS. So that's probably 480 horsepower. And 360 kilowatts is the one we want to go with. The rear motor is the stronger one. The front motor is the secondary motor. Both are permanent magnet with silicon carbide inverters on both motors. I'll show you those over there with a clutch disconnect up front, which normally would be a bad thing. but Mercedes does clutch disconnects better than anyone. And we just talked to the clutch disconnect guy, and he was like, oh, love that you appreciate my work. And I'm like, have you driven a Rivian with clutch disconnect? And he's like, dude. And Scott was like, my car clunks every time I accelerate. He's like, no, at Mercedes, everything should be unnoticeable. And I'm like, well, you can tell sometimes. He's like, yeah, if you really floor it, there's a quick connect mode that just gets it in there, but still it's super smooth. Anyway, he loved that we knew what clutch disconnects were and talking about the smoothness. I'm going to reach in and try and open up the front trunk really quick if I don't fall. Would you mind pulling the front trunk button? I don't know where it is exactly. Yeah, I think it's this one. Yeah, exactly. Pull that. Great, thank you. Okay, let's take a look under here and see what we have. There is a latch, so I prefer front trunks without a latch, but the nice thing is it's right in the center. So you can reach in and boom, right under the Mercedes logo, pull this up, and here we go. Washer fluid fill right up front. You don't have to get anything dirty. That's awesome. And actually a fairly sizable front trunk. This is due to the MMA architecture having a really efficient thermal system. Heat pump, heat scavenging. The entire system has multiple valves where it can shuffle heat from the battery to the motors to the cabin. I think that's great. I mean, this is really truly designed to be a world-class efficiency example in this class of vehicle. And that also leads to a reduction in parts count, because the more parts you have, the more losses you'll have in terms of flowing coolant around. So you get a pretty large front trunk. I think that's good. Scott, you want to just scream in real quick? What do you think?
Oh, I just wanted to know what was under the carpet.
Oh, under the carpet's nothing.
Nothing? Oh. I'd rather see that be rubber.
Oh.
Because that gets really dirty really easily. I don't know if that will be an option or not.
Shout out to who's the 3W floor mats we've been working with?
Oh.
All right, good. So that's kind of the exterior. Wheel choices, we know there's going to be plenty of them, and they're all OE tires. Hannes, one of the test drivers we were talking to as well, he said, and his colleague have driven these on all the development miles. So they've done thousands of miles over the last 2 years with these things all around the world. Death Valley, here, Spain, and I'm sure Sweden. Yeah. Anyway, they said you cannot hear a thing in there. The road noise is totally controlled. He's like, it's absolutely insane. The air suspension is a 2-chamber air suspension, so you can control vehicle height and wheel motion separately, so that you get a really nice ride example, very similar to how an S-Class should ride. It's probably not as smooth as an S-Class, but it's still there. And it has rear axle steering of up to around 4.5 degrees. So that's, again, stuff that iX3 doesn't have. No air suspension, no rear steer. This has dual chamber air as an option, of course. You're probably going to be able to get a steel suspension and, and of course the rear. Now, there's a line to sit inside of it, but I took a video from inside and I'll just explain briefly because we'll have to film this later on. But I'll show you a photo that I took from my point of view looking at the dashboard, Scott. First of all, seating position's nice. Steering wheel comes out far enough. It's a pretty good seating position. It's very comfortable. The seats are great. But this is a top spec model, so it should be comfortable, of course. The screen, in my opinion, looks terrible. It looks so cheap. There's this piano black rim, this plastic around the whole thing, the vent placement, everything feels, to me, totally unpremium, and the iX3 absolutely smokes this on the interior. I don't understand how putting a giant screen across the car with giant bezels and not integrated software, and the operating system is inside of the screen. It looks like when you use CarPlay on a Lucid Air, but that's the base system. And I was like, this is really bad. And they're not, they put the big screen in there so they can say it's the widest screen or whatever in any car, but then they don't utilize the space for anything important. And then I think what's nice is having a design element with a central screen, but then also kind of what they did with the previous EQs, which I guess some people didn't like, but put some wood or interior materials behind there to make it feel a bit more traditional. I just think this, just peek your head in there if you don't mind, Scott. I just think looking in from the outside makes this thing look pretty not premium. Not this is more CLA looking screen than GLC, if you know what I mean. It's doesn't work for me at least. Yeah, so that was actually the real disappointment of this car, where when we got into the iX3 yesterday, we sat in there and we were like, wow, the materials are cool. The screen actually worked in that one, even though it looked really ugly. It functioned how you would expect in terms of, just having everything on one centralized display. The software in the BMW seemed to be more in-depth. This felt laggy. Now, I talked to one of the guys here and they said it's laggy just because everyone's been touching it.
You said it was the laggiest.
Laggiest screen we've seen all week here at IAA. Yeah, and it's not like terrible, totally usable, but you can tell like it's clipping frames.
I've been looking at a lot of Chinese cars.
The Chinese cars do really fast software. So I think that kind of wraps up everything on the GLC. We don't know US pricing yet, I don't believe. And of course with Mercedes, there's going to be a million options. There's a one-box braking system, I didn't mention that. So that's similar to like Macan, where you can do a ton of regen on the brake pedal. It will actually regen through small amounts of ABS, which is nice. And then it will, under emergency braking, shut regen off, which, okay, probably not so needed here, but for AMG is needed for performance applications. Let's run over and look at the chassis.
Okay.
And while we're walking over there, we can just discuss a little bit of what's been happening over here at Mercedes. Even though, from the outside looking in, I always say we don't drive cars on paper, we drive them on pavement, so the spec sheets is just a example. The BMW spec sheets have just crushed this car so hard, it's hard to ignore it. With that said, there is so much excitement here at Mercedes. Take a look. The GLC inside is around all of those people. So this is genuinely, it's been like this for over an hour now. Just we can't even get over to it. Just an insane, I would say, excitement from the German market around the GLC. Maybe even more than the iX3 Neue Klasse.
Yeah.
I think so, which is shocking to me. But this is, I mean, yeah, it's been here for 3 days and they're still geeking out. All right, so this is the powertrain right here. So you can see this is the rear electric motor. So this is the main primary axle of the entire system. It's a permanent magnet unit. It has basically oil cooling, everything you would expect, silicon carbide inverter, and this is going to be the standard normal drive unit. Then you have your high voltage battery pack, which looks fairly normal, looks like prismatic cells in here. And you have a penthouse design, which is similar to how Tesla is doing it, and also BMW. So you have all of your power electronics. I assume the booster does not go in there, but I could be wrong for high voltage. You can see the high voltage charging port in the rear is a CCS one because it has 3 high voltage lines heading to it. With NACS, everything should be integrated into one port. And I say should be because I'm pretty sure the Mercedes CLA launches with like a NACS and a J1772 port, which is really not the way to do it. And no one's really seen 100% how the US cars will be implemented, but I hope this just has NACS for AC and DC charging and we're done. I think that's about all we can show for GLC. How long do you think the video is, Scott? Plenty long?
Yeah.
We're good? Okay. Well, I'm soaking wet. So thanks to the viewers for watching this one. I'm glad we were able to get something on GLC over to you. And we'll see you on another one again soon. Bye-bye.